standing in the kitchen this morning of our fantastic listing at 5808 Morningstar Court. And this is actually a Wower custom kitchen that is behind us. Welcome to Breakfast with Bev this morning. I'm Bev Curtis with Bev & Company at House of Brokers Realty. And with me here is...
I'm Dan Fowler, and I'm our buyer's agent here on our team. That's hard to say.
It is. It kind of a little tongue twister there. Yes, and so this morning we kind of wanted to share with you some of the features about the home here on Morningstar Court. First of all, it's a fantastic wooded cul-de-sac lot, and those are pretty hard to find where it's actually a usable yard but has a wooded backdrop. We're in 5 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, and over 4,200 finished square feet. Has really nice finishing touches, has the wood floors, the really nice lighting package, lots of crown molding and trim. Everything is done just to an elevated level as far as the quality and the elegance. So if you're looking in that mid-500s range, definitely check out this listing on Morningstar Court. So this morning, Dan and I are here at this home, and we're pretty much just wanting to kind of give you a recap of what's going on here in the Columbia market. As everybody knows, real estate is local, and we always get asked the questions, how's the real estate market doing? And I'm sure you do all the time being a buyer's agent as well. And so we kind of hit our mid-year time frame here with wrapping up sales from January till June. And usually that's kind of the thrust of the real estate market, kind of the first half of it with being in the spring market. And so we just kind of want to give you a little bit of information from our perspective, what we're seeing in the market, and just kind of some stats. So with that being said, do you mind kind of sharing with us, Dan, when you're out with buyers, kind of what their take and feel and what you're seeing in the market?
Sure. So here's the difference between, say, the first quarter of the year when we were out looking at homes versus this quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And so on the first quarter, the market was so hot that when I told my buyers, like, look, if you find a house and you like it and you can both agree on it and it's reasonably priced, you better be ready to make an offer, because we had stuff that was going off the shelf in 2 days and 1 day and stuff like that. And I had several buyers who wanted to wait and see more stuff, and they would circle back to a house and it was gone.
Mm-hmm.
So that was what was happening in the first quarter. In the second quarter, it had slowed. It's still a great market from a standpoint of something's reasonably priced and it's clean, it's going to sell.
Right.
Right?
I would agree.
But you do have a little more time now to maybe look at a couple more houses, and you don't have to jump quite as fast, but anything still reasonably priced is still going to go. So from that standpoint, we're still in a good market, especially in that, and now of course I'm talking anywhere into that high 100s to 250 range. Stuff when we get into stuff in the 354, it's setting just a tad longer, or you have a little bit more time to buy. But it's still a market where it's going to go. So it's not come to a halt at all.
You would agree, though, that probably the first quarter was more the multiple offers. Second quarter, probably not as heated. Like you said, it gave people a little bit more time to kind of take a breath and process things. But depends on if it's a specialty property that's one of a kind versus something that there's more similar properties out there. Would you agree?
Absolutely right. In the first quarter, I was involved in two transactions where we paid over ask.
Right.
This quarter, that has not happened yet.
Right.
So that's kind of your indication right now.
Okay. Well, and the thing to keep in mind with the market so far this year is we did have a very long winter, and that really prolonged folks with being able to prep their homes and get them on the market. And so our start was later, but what I'm kind of finding is that thrust of the season is kind of shoring up already. Because, I mean, it's hard to believe, but we're at 4th of July already tomorrow, which happy 4th of July, by the way. So, but it's kind of hard to believe that we're already halfway through the year and school's going to be starting just next month. And usually that's when you see pricing kind of stair-stepping down incrementally. Now, one thing, though, that I have to say that's in our favor, market condition-wise, is interest rates. So we're actually seeing where people are starting to really strongly consider refining again because the rates have been coming down. I would say the levels of inventory is pretty consistent year over year. And then I would say April and May, according to the Columbia Board of Realtors stats, was actually slightly up in sales, so it was a little bit stronger market than it was last year. But all things considered, I would say the meat of the market has been between that 100 to 300,000 range. That's kind of the sweet spot for most people. And then as you graduate up in price, that 500 and above starts to get a little bit more heavier on the inventory side. Although there has been some more sales that have happened as compared to last year that made a few more sales as far as new construction goes. So that new construction inventory in that upper bracket is starting to move off the shelf, because we did have some excess inventory at one point that was close to 24 months or 22 months on the market, and now that's shaving down to just slightly a little under a year. So somewhere in between that 9 months to a year range. So would you agree with that? Like when you're out there showing with the buyers that?
Absolutely. The one thing though that has surprised me, I've sold more houses above 300 than I have below 200. And so I'm starting to see where people are starting to, it seems like people are buying a little bit more house now. And that might be just the market where houses are getting more expensive.
And rates, wouldn't you say too? That probably factors in.
They can get into a little bit more house now with the rates. So, absolutely.
So inventory-wise, we have about 3 to 6 months of inventory up to about that 300, 350 range. Homes are still moving. I mean, you have to keep in mind, real estate is always cyclical, so to speak. However, real estate sells all year round. And so as far as numbers go right now, it has been a strong market. It continues to weather, I think, very well. I think time will kind of tell as we have all this pre-election stuff coming up this fall and what interest rates do, but all indicators show that that's definitely going to stay on the lower end, and usually that creates a great little recipe for a good buying experience and getting a great value.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. We always hope so.
That's right.
But I have to say, if you're in that market that's under 300,000, kind of in that 200-ish range, you're really in the sweet spot, because that's where there's less than 3 months of inventory out there. So if you are consider selling, I mean, it's always about supply and demand. So there is a great demand for that type of property. And of course, in our town, in local, there's always a great demand for that central location, downtown, walking distance, just the easy living lifestyle. And the other thing that I've noticed too this year is that our sales in the condo side has picked up dramatically. That I think a lot of people are in that paring down mode, and they're looking for an easy lifestyle where they can come and go, lock the door, have lawn mowing service, exterior building stuff is all taken care of by the HOA. So that's kind of a market that is up for us this year too, as far as condominium sales, so which is kind of an interesting thing. But new construction still seems to be going strong. The existing home market overall is doing well. I think it's just a matter of what I'm kind of running into is people deciding, do we want to stay and remodel, or do we want to go ahead and take advantage of that low rate and step up to, another property?
Yeah, absolutely. And this can kind of transfer over to, if you're thinking about listing your house. Of course, this is our listing here, but if you're thinking about listing your house, you can take this information and that's going to apply over to you. So if you have a house in that 200, 225 range in a good location, don't think you're going to go out there and start looking for a house, or if you put it on the market that you're going to have a long time to look for a house to go buy. You better be ready.
Right.
So anybody thinking about listing, this information kind of applies to them too on selling it pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. So overall, I have to say from the previous year, the average days on the market is up about 40 days. So we're weathering, I think, the real estate conditions locally very well. All indicators are that everything's just going to keep chugging along and just kind of, going as it should. So if you're thinking about buying or selling in the future, now or in the future, and you're just not sure about the market conditions or not sure if it's the right time to buy or the right time to sell, always think of us here at Bevan Company and House of Brokers Realty to be your resource to guide you through that step in that process to make certain that you're making the best decisions. So, and once again, I can't stress enough, I think national news and things like that with the real estate market always kind of gets everyone confused. Real estate is very local, and it's basically what's happening right here in our own little turf. And so that's where reach out to a local branded company like House of Brokers here with us, and we'll give you all the information that you need. So thank you guys so much for joining in this morning. We greatly appreciate your time and hope you have a very happy 4th of July holiday with your family and friends, and most of all, be very safe. We'll see you soon.